Have you noticed that
My videos on ship design try to find the most efficient way to purge the galaxy?
I don't,
Hans, are we the baddies?
Titans. Are they worth it? Should we be using them? Will they overall give you a better combat outcome, not just with their aura abilities, but also the phenomenal weapons they have at their disposal as well? Today I'm going to be testing all of that, and I'm bringing the results directly to you.
And we give it to you, the people.
I, for one, was definitely quite surprised at the results of these tests. I have never been a massive fan of Titans, shoot me, but I have not been. I am definitely of the belief that battleships are, given my previous testing, are the mainstay of any fleet, and given that you can only have one Titan per 200 naval capacity, that is not something I have specifically been focused in on my individual playthroughs. Now, I am aware that the Titan auras are really good, but I thought that the ships themselves weren't so great. And, you know, we're going to look at it in a moment, but I might have been wrong. From the other testing I've done, I'm going to start from a position of taking an artillery battleship, somewhat the best ship in the game. I mean, you could argue that carriers are great because you can counter a Corvette spam with them, but artillery battleships will pick apart a carrier group if they are given the opportunity due to their range and weapon advantage. So the ship to beat is the artillery battleship, so I am mainly going to be testing big fleets of artillery battleships against each other. Into those fleets on one end, I'll just be running pure artillery battleships, and on the other end, I'll be splicing in some Titans with some various different auras, and setting them up against each other, fighting it out, and finding out which is the best fleet composition, if we include this Titan or if we leave it out. If you enjoy this video, please crack that like button. The first place to start with is our design. So this is the artillery battleship I'm going to be testing out here today. As ever, I've gone with the Mega Cannon mount. We're not running repeatables in this analysis, so the Mega Cannon is going to come out on top as the best weapon to use in that X slot. And in the L slots, I'm using my neutron launchers. Otherwise, I've got a shield crystal plate mix with some auxiliary combat computers to add to our accuracy of the weapons, which is going to be quite useful. The important point to note here really though is that as both sides of the engagement will have the same class of battleship, it shouldn't matter too much if you disagree with the optimization of this particular design. When it comes to the Titan, the design I'm going to be running today is going to be very similar to the battleship, but as we have an energy weapon on our Titan bow, we are going to put one kinetic artillery in the stern. Possibly you could swap out a second neutron launcher for kinetic artillery here, but I think this is a close balance up. And then of course there is the aura, and I will be swapping that aura out amongst the other designs that I have. So I'm going to be testing out all of the different auras in this matchup. But what are the auras? What are the possibilities we can have? Well, there are 6 auras for Titans in total. 3 of them are offensive in capability and 3 are defensive. Now, I have tested this out. If you have a single Titan with an offensive aura, the debuff will be applied to all ships in the entire system, not just ships you are engaged in combat with. The Stellaris wiki here isn't quite correct. I do have a video on that. Link is down in the description if you want to check out that test. Now, the three offensive auras are Quantum Destabilizer, which will give a minus 10% fire rate, Shield Dampener, minus 20% hit points to shields, and Subspace Snare, plus 100% emergency FTL jump cooldown and minus 20% combat disengagement chance. On the other side of the coin, we have defensive auras. Now, these auras will only ever apply to the fleet the Titan is in. So if you have a Titan with a defensive aura and it's not in a fleet with any other ships, well, only that Titan itself is going to gain any effect from its aura bonus. This does mean, however, that the more technology you can apply, the larger the fleet capacity you can have of an individual fleet in terms of number of ships in there, the better it will be for these kind of Titans. The 3 defensive auras are Inspiring Presence, plus 5% fire rate, Nanobot Cloud, plus 1 daily hull regen and plus 3 daily armor regen, and Targeting Grid, plus 10 tracking. Something that is very important to note with all of these bonuses or modifiers is that they are additive, which means that repeatables will have a big effect on these auras. So, for instance, shield dampener, minus 20% shield hit points. But if your opponent has, say, 10 of the shield hit point repeatable, they'll be getting a 50% bonus to shield hit points minus 20%. So that'll only actually be mean that they'll get a 30% bonus rather than taking 20% off the total shield hit points after their own personal bonuses are applied. So as the game goes on, these Titan auras become less and less relevant. There are some general Titan rules I should probably cover before we go any further as well. Each fleet can be affected by a specific Titan aura once only. This does, however, mean that it can be affected by all 6 of the Titan auras simultaneously. So you can stack each of the defensive auras on a fleet once per aura, so you could have all 3 of them. You could also stack each of the offensive auras on an enemy fleet each once per aura. So if you had one of each Titan in a system with one of each offensive aura, the enemy fleets would suffer all 3 of those debuffs. The source of these auras is irrelevant. They only stack once per fleet, even if there are different empires producing the same offensive aura. Defensive auras, as I've said, only apply to the fleet they're in, and offensive auras apply to any enemy fleet anywhere in the same system. One final note is that Titan auras do stack with star-based auras, so you can give enemy ships a minus 40% to shields on an enemy fleet by having a star base with a shield dampener and a Titan with a shield dampener in the same system. Alright, we've got everything set up now, we understand the rules, let's build some fleets and we'll fight them together.
Let's get ready to rumble!
The first thing to note qualitatively when you are examining these fleets interacting is that the Titans will be targeted very early and die off very early. If you run only one Titan in one fleet, your other fleets will not engage first, meaning that the Titan fleet will become the first target of enemy ships because that is the fleet that engaged them first generally, and then your Titan will be near to the front of that fleet and tend to die off quite quickly from the opening salvos of the enemy. So Titans are very, very fragile in that they tend to soak a massive amount of firepower and tend to engage first of any other ship in the system. Well, the first thing I did was I tested some vanilla Titans against these battleships. So what we have here is equal by economic weight, and actually in this case, given the minor difference in the cost of 2 battleships as opposed to 1 Titan, it's basically the same naval capacity. There were 3 fleets I matched up against each other, that is 3 battleship fleets and 3 battleship plus Titan fleets, and I got them to fight it out. Well, when there were no auras involved, I was actually surprised by this one, but the battleships did lose when they didn't have Titan support. And not only did they lose, they lost a higher number of casualties than they inflicted. They lost about 60% and only inflicted 50%. But sometimes the battleships without the Titans did actually prevail and force a Titan fleet to retreat, but it tended to be all down to that initial opening salvo. So if the first 3 shots of the Titans with their massive weapons managed to kill off 3 enemy battleships, which is possible if they rolled well, that then meant that the remaining fleets were down 3 battleships, but they had no extra benefit to them beyond that. So there was RNG here, obviously, if you're going to add Titans, but it does seem overall a Titan is better than 2 battleships. But what happened when we started putting some auras on? Well, when we added defensive auras, that being Inspiring Presence and Nanobot Clouds, you might be interested to find out that the results were kind of striking. When we included Inspiring Presence in the Titans, meaning we got a 5% ship fire rate buff, that massively reduced the number of casualties we took, whilst not really increasing the casualties dealt. And why is that? Well, I would suspect that is because this 5% buff means that you'll be firing first on your second volley. You'll be firing before your enemy, meaning you're taking out more of their ships, meaning they can do less damage to you. Your overall damage output won't have gone up per se. You'll still be killing the same number of ships in the same number of shots, but you'll just be able to get your shots in first, leading to your enemy being unable to kill you. On the other hand, nanobot clouds, basically useless. You can see there's a little bit of deviation here from the no auras, but within my error bars, it's pretty identical. What I would suspect is that you got slightly less casualties taken when you had nanobot clouds, maybe, and then because of that as well, you may be inflicted a bit less. I'm not really sure, but I can definitely say nanobot clouds is not good in a combat situation. How about offensive auras? What happened if we included some of those? Well, first off, shield dampener, that was really quite good. Taking off 20% shield hit points on your opponent's fleet, that is meaning that your neutron launchers, the mainstay of any artillery battleship line, will be doing a lot more damage because they have less shields to chew through before they get to that nice tasty center of the enemy ship, that being armor and hull. On the other side, you've got something like Quantum Destabilizer. That reduces the enemy fire rate. But again, with Quantum Destabilizer, that actually led to taking about the same reduction in casualties. So you took about the same number of casualties less, but slightly more damage was done to your enemy fleet, somewhat in line with Inspiring Presence here, because reducing the enemy's fire rate or increasing your fire rate are both going to have the same effect of causing your second salvo to hit before your enemy's second salvo. Finally, Subspace Snare, not so great it turned out. Subspace Snare did cause you to inflict more casualties on your enemy. This is because they have a lower disengage chance. However, it did not prevent them from causing more casualties to you. And in fact, I would suspect that it actually caused an increase in casualties because some of their ships would have stuck around longer and continued firing. I did as well try taking all three of these offensive auras and putting one on each Titan in the 3 fleets I had in these matchups. That turned out to be the best of all possible worlds. We increased the damage we were dealing to the enemy, we decreased the damage we were taking, and overall seems to be the best approach, which is quite unsurprising. What I am surprised about though is how vastly different this is. We're looking at somewhere in the low 30% in terms of casualties taken, opposed to dealing around 65-70% casualties to the enemy. That is really quite powerful and an important change to note. And if you get all of the data together, it becomes quite clear that running the 3 offensive auras is basically your best bet here. If you were to choose all 3 of your Titans to have the Inspiring Presence, and that would then mean they'd each give each of their individual fleets 5%, you would not be dealing as many casualties as if you'd gone with just the 3 offensive auras. Those 3 in combination are quite a potent mix, because as long as your Titans stay alive, and that's something as well that is quite difficult, they do tend to get targeted first, die first, and be a majority ship that will need replacing after each combat, which is somewhat a problem with them. But if you can keep them alive long enough, they will continue supplying that debuff across the system. So overall, my recommendation is yes, you do want to build Titans. You want to put an offensive aura Titan in each fleet until you get to 3 fleets. And then after that point, I would recommend you could double up some of these auras if you're trying to preserve the debuff for as long as possible, or alternatively, you could swap out and get some defensive auras and probably go with the Inspiring Presence aura. Although I haven't tested it, but I would imagine running Inspiring Presence and quantum destabilizer at the same time wouldn't really be much of a help. By both buffing and debuffing the fire rate, buffing your fire rate and debuffing your opponent's fire rate, it's pretty equivalent to just buffing your own fire rate. Unless you can get your fire rate to the point where you're able to fire, say, 3 shots for every 2 of theirs, which you need to get a 66% increase on, you're not going to be doing anything amazing in that theatre.